And we're here, the conclusion of the 100-day journey. I spent a few days just reflecting on what this past 100 days have been for me, as a business owner. Also, for my personal life, there's a lot of things that have changed. So let's just go back for a second, talk about what we worked on, some of the challenges that we ran into, and then what was the conclusion and what's next. 100-day journey, my goal is to start to unlock some of the mystery of digital marketing and create a little bit of transparency on what really works and what doesn't. So the beginning of the journey, we started out with lead acquisition, and the goal was to get about 10 to 20,000 contacts a month. So it's a bit of a broad approach. Grabbing leads, cold outreach, warming them up, pass them off to the sales team. That's part of it. The other part was being really active on social media. I really wanted to speak to a lot of the stuff that you see online. People always talk about post a lot and be active and build community. And I wanted to shed light on that. Is it really valid at this point in time where we're at in the digital marketing world? So that was the other thing. We were incredibly active. The third part was we were documenting the story, this 100-day journey, talking about the ups and downs, the wins, the pitfalls, everything that we were working through and going through. The fourth thing on top of that was building out infrastructure for a sales team and reverse engineering that process. All these are things that you hear a lot of people talk about of what you need to do when you're building your business. All those things are very important. Well, let's talk about some of the roadblocks that we ran into along the way. Well, first, we got a lot of momentum with our cold outreach. We started building relationships and we started getting prospects that showed interest in what we were doing. And this is completely new. It's just from scratch. We got appointments booked. We were getting deals, opportunities. Some of them, passed through, a lot of them didn't. And the cool thing about that is what I learned over the past 100 days, and it takes time to really build really good relationships if you're going that route. If you are not in a necessity type business where you have to sell people on an idea of something that they really don't need, but they want, it takes time to build trust, build the relationship. And the higher the price point of your product, the more time it may take to orchestrate that. Building those relationships take time. You hear a lot of people talk about they're getting insane results in a short period of time. There are some ways to do that. If you're advertising, you're finding people at a different stage in the buyer's journey. But let's not digress. Let's get back on track with the topic. So cold outreach, salespeople, social media. What we started to notice on social media is we started to get people following on our journey. But it took a lot of work to get them to that point. And that's fine. I actually have people reaching out to me regarding the journey, but also reaching out to me about wanting to work with me. My point is, when you think about social media perspective, it takes a lot of time and consistency to build rapport with people. And the reason, this is just my thought, the reason why is there's so much noise out here of people posting, positioning themselves as experts. The hard part is you're trying to figure out who's valid, who's not. And that becomes really difficult because you can't look at the back end and see what type of numbers people are really doing. Screenshots and all that stuff you can put online, it doesn't have to necessarily be valid. But, so as far as social media, we started to get people to notice our journey. Was it fast? No, it definitely wasn't fast, but it was progressive, meaning that because we were really consistent with talking about, the challenges, the things that we were working through, people started to jump on board just to kind of follow and hear outcomes. So that was cool. That's been a win. Are we where we need to be in terms of building this and massive following? No, and that's fine. I didn't expect that, but we did get people's attention. For us, the next step in regards to social media is really building a community. And when I say building a community, you got to do your homework and find out people who get value from what you do. You got to speak to all of them. And the reason I say that right now is so much noise, kind of connects to my point earlier. There's so much noise around content with AI and Chat GPT and all the other tools that can artificially create content. You really got to come up with unique stuff that's specific to you to stand out. Like your story. What did you do today? What was your failures? What were your lessons? And that's the only thing I think you have left where you can be unique. Telling people tips about how to do something isn't unique anymore. There's so many people out there telling you what you need to do, and it's hit or miss if they've done it before. So that's hard. I think the only chance you have of being really unique is telling your story. What's really happening in your day-to-day? What's the hiccups? What's the good and the bad? So that's social media. Our main target was LinkedIn. We probably were growing at, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 new subscribers a day for the past 100 days. So, and some days it was slower than others. The holidays were slowed down because we didn't do much. So that's great. So there's more people. But then there's no guarantee that all those people that are following us necessarily fit with what we're doing or how we can add value. So let's shift gears and talk about sales. Sales, we started the 100-day journey at a time of the year where it could be difficult to get your foot in the door with corporate accounts. Smaller businesses, I'll tell you from my experience years ago, when the market was, I think, a little inflated, and right after COVID, yeah, so many people who were starting businesses because they were inspired changes in the market, COVID, people not working in the office anymore, that you had a lot of people starting businesses at weird times. So actually the end of the year was incredibly busy with a lot of new growth. Well, you fast forward 3 years later, there's a lot of those businesses that are not around. The stable businesses that have been around for years, that are somewhat recession proof, are the ones that are around this day and age. But the interesting thing is a lot of them are freezing on their budgets. They're not necessarily spending. So that was really a challenge for us to figure out how to navigate through, find actual companies that are opening up their budget. But what we did is we built relationships with some key prospects that ideally would turn into business. The hard part is that stuff takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But we made a lot of progress there. We came up with some unique ways to build relationships and add value through our playbooks. Our playbooks are really extensive when we do a playbook for a company. Those playbooks break down detailed gaps that we identify and give them step-by-step guides, frameworks on how to solve those. It talked through how we would solve it if we were in their shoes. It's incredibly valuable. We're going to continue to do that this year. We're going to be really selective in terms of highly qualified, highly profitable businesses that we know we can serve. Nobody that isn't qualified gets an opportunity to get those playbooks because it just takes a lot of time. We want to put our foot in the place of where it is valuable for us, but it's a really effective relationship building tool. Right now, coming into this new year, we just want to figure out how do we streamline that process where it doesn't take as much time to produce those. So that's the sales and marketing part. It's just phase one of building out foundation. We figured out some unique selling propositions, but there's still work to be done. What else do I need to cover? Email. It's interesting right now. I'll talk a little bit about email. Email is changing. The Gmail has made some changes to restrictions on cold email, and is requiring people to have to do a little bit more on their verification of their domain, the sending domain. So that's going to shake up the market. We actually experienced that because we had a moment where 100% of one of our domains emails started to bounce, and that didn't serve us well for generating leads and warming up leads. But we had to jump right in and figure out a solution to that, and we did. But we're not out of the water, because as these new regulations get slapped down from Google, we're all going to see how this impacts us. That is something to be continued. As far as client fulfillment, I wanted to tear down our entire fulfillment process and build a framework that takes a big portion of fundamental thinking away from fulfillment team and allow them to focus on thinking within their space, within their niche, their talent. So a creative content writer being able to work their magic and spend time thinking strategically on how they want to do things differently, or how they want to A/B test and experiment. But what we did is we created playbooks for how do we deliver high quality services for our clients. I really wanted to think through the details of how do we build out a strategy, how do you optimize the account, and I wanted to get that stuff all in writing. And it centers also around our playbooks. Any clients that we bring on at this point moving forward, we build out playbooks for them. So that's how the game plan gets ran. Nobody gets to work on an account unless they've studied the playbook that we created for them and they know where we're starting. And the playbooks are like 70 to 80% the game plan, with a lot of room for some pivots.